In the dead of night, when the world is silent and shadows stretch across your walls, some stories crawl under your skin, making your heart race and your breath catch, and linger long after the lights go out, refusing to let you rest easy. Tonight I'll share 5 chilling tales, true accounts, and urban legends that will haunt your nightmares and keep you looking over your shoulder. On a stormy night, as thunder rumbled and rain lashed the empty streets, Mark sat alone in his apartment, the glow of his phone the only light in the room. He was restless, unable to shake a sense of unease that had been growing all evening. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a new message. The sender's name made his heart skip a beat. Sam, his best friend, who had died in a tragic accident 3 years ago. Mark stared at the screen, disbelief and confusion swirling inside him. The message was chillingly simple. Don't go home tonight. The words seemed to pulse on the screen, as if carrying a warning from another world. Mark tried to laugh it off, telling himself it was a cruel prank or a glitch, but the memory of Sam's voice, and the pain of his loss, made the warning feel personal. Dread gnawed at him, growing heavier with every passing minute. Despite the warning, Mark decided to go home. The rain pounded harder as he walked, each step echoing his hope that everything would be normal, that the message was nothing more than a bad joke. When he arrived, the porch light flickered erratically, casting strange shadows. His front door was ajar, swaying gently in the wind, as if inviting him inside. Inside, the house was colder than usual, and an unnatural silence pressed in from all sides. The familiar warmth of home was gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness. Mark called out for anyone, hoping for a reassuring answer, a sign that he wasn't alone, but only his own voice echoed back, bouncing off the walls in the darkness. In the living room, a shadowy figure emerged from the gloom, its hollow, glowing eyes fixed on Mark, and in a voice that was both familiar and otherworldly, it whispered, "You should have listened." Panic surged through Mark. He spun around, desperate to escape, but the door slammed shut behind him with a force that rattled the walls. His phone buzzed again, vibrating on the table. With trembling hands, Mark picked it up to see a final message. Too late. Some warnings come from beyond the grave, and sometimes ignoring them can be the last mistake you ever make. Stand is skinted death on stand scout. Emily loved vlogging. For her, it was more than just a hobby. It was a way to capture the little moments of her life, to share her thoughts and experiences with the world, and to connect with people she'd never met. Every night, she would set up her camera, adjust the lighting, and talk to her growing audience as if they were old friends. The glow of the screen became her comfort, and the lens her confidant. For weeks, Emily filmed her daily routines, making coffee, reading late at night, laughing at her own jokes. She spent hours editing her footage, carefully piecing together each day's story. The process was soothing, almost meditative, and she took pride in every video she uploaded. But one evening, as she reviewed her latest clips, something strange caught her eye. In the background of nearly every video, a man's face appeared, sometimes just a shadow, sometimes a blurry outline, but always there. With each new video, he seemed to be standing a little closer, his gaze fixed on her, silent and unblinking. Emily's heart raced as she scrolled back through her footage. She hadn't seen anyone in her apartment, hadn't heard a sound. Yet, there he was, hidden, in plain sight. Sometimes reflected in a window, sometimes blending into the shadows of her room. It was as if he belonged to the darkness itself. In her final clip, the man was unmistakable. He stood in the corner of her bedroom, his figure barely illuminated by the faint light. He didn't move, didn't speak, he simply stared directly into the camera as if he knew she would be watching. Suddenly the video glitched, the screen froze on his face, his cold, unblinking eyes filling the frame. For a moment, it felt as if he was staring straight through the screen, straight at her, and the room seemed to grow colder. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She looked around her apartment, every shadow now a potential hiding place. The realization hit her, she was never truly alone. The comfort she'd found in her camera had become a window for something, or someone, else to watch her. Sometimes the scariest things aren't the monsters we imagine, but the ones we never notice, lurking just out of sight, waiting for us to finally see them. And by then, it might already be too late. Ryan's phone always died at exactly 1%, never 0. One night, walking home, his phone buzzed. "Stop ignoring me." The screen glitched, a sinister smiley face appeared, and a whisper called his name, from the phone and behind him. He spun around, but saw nothing. The phone died, plunging him into darkness. From then on, every time his phone hit 1%, he heard that haunting whisper. Some devices hold on to more than just data. After a long night out with friends, Lisa stepped onto the slick, rain-soaked sidewalk and pulled out her phone. She ordered an Uber, eager to get home safely. The city lights flickered in puddles as she waited, shivering in the damp night air. When the car finally arrived, she slid into the back seat, barely glancing at the driver. The ride started off normally, but soon, the familiar streets faded away, replaced by winding, unfamiliar roads cloaked in darkness. Lisa's unease grew with every turn. She checked her phone, but the app glitched, and her ride details suddenly disappeared. The driver's voice broke the silence, insisting, "This is where you requested." Lisa's heart pounded as she realized she had no idea where she was, and her phone offered no help. The car slowed to a stop near an abandoned warehouse, its windows dark and foreboding. The only light came from the car's headlights, casting long, eerie shadows across the crumbling building. Panic set in as Lisa scanned the desolate surroundings, realizing there was no one else in sight. She reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. The doors were locked. The driver's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, cold and hollow, reflecting nothing but darkness. Lisa's breath quickened as she felt truly trapped. Suddenly, the driver leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're here," he said, unlocking the doors with a slow, deliberate click. The sound echoed in the silence, sending chills down Lisa's spine. Without thinking, Lisa flung the door open and bolted into the night, her footsteps splashing through puddles as she ran. She didn't dare look back until she reached the end of the street. When she finally turned, the car, and the driver, had vanished without a trace. Shaken and breathless, Lisa tried to make sense of what had happened. She never learned who the driver was or how he knew her name when she'd never spoken it aloud. The memory haunted her long after that night. Sometimes, the ride you take isn't the one you ordered, and sometimes, you never truly arrive at your destination. David's reflection began acting strangely, blinking late, smiling too long. One night, his reflection grinned before he did, then leaned forward, eyes cold and inhuman. David tried to look away, but the reflection held him captive. The room grew colder, the silence heavier. Then, the reflection smiled, a wide, unnatural grin. In that moment, David realized, whatever stared back wasn't him anymore. Sometimes, the scariest stranger is your own reflection. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. These stories are warnings. Fear finds us where we feel safest. Tonight, as you turn off the lights, remember, some nightmares begin when you wake. Subscribe for more stories, if you dare.